The soul is a necessary part of the physical form that is used on planet 4, Earth, but was not present on the first, second, or third planets, and is not present after planet number 4. The soul is spun off the seed core, which is what is used over and over again on planet 4, with new physical forms and personalities for every incarnation. This is a concept that will be difficult for people to understand at their stage of evolution, but needs to be explained, so the rest of the process makes sense. The term seed core is the family that the half of the soul in incarnation has access to. The other half of the soul, the one not in incarnation, is also here in the seed core. The seed core is the holder of the family tree. It comes back and spins off another personality. All your former lives are part of the seed core. Good and bad are separated here, and only the beautiful and creative lives are kept. All it takes is one plus deed to let any lifetime become part of the soul. If nothing was achieved in that life, then no part of it will remain. This is the true meaning of death. The individual seed core is what stays and reincarnates each time. Your individual soul, which spun off from the seed core, goes with your personality. You do not die, but the soul-infused personality that you are now does not come back to Earth. When that incarnation is finished, you, the one that crossed over into the inner planes, remains on the inner planes, the spirit of that one who was, and continues on the evolutionary journey as a third stage, so to speak, of the seed core, a stage of spirit. The seed core goes to the inner planes with you, the personality soul, when you cross over. You are one at this point. You read charts of your seed core's progress, have conferences with teachers, discuss mistakes and areas where lessons are needed. You, with much help from your teachers and guides, plan what the seed core's next try will be like, the lessons that are needed, the goals, and so on. The seed core then separates from you, similar to the stages that separate from a rocket. You, the personality soul, with all the knowledge of the seed core still in your memory computer bank, stay and progress onward on the inner planes. Some knowledge that you have in the little piece of seed core that is spun off and stayed in you, your individual soul, also stays in the central seed core that reincarnates into another body. Your seed core, which you spun off of, is what comes back. It spins off another personality soul combination that you helped to create. Your twin seed core does the same. This process, the way all this is handled, is similar to documentary films kept in a projection room, the Akashic Records room. There are rolls of records in the Akashic Records room. The individual lives are each stacked on top of each other as cans of film in a projection room. Instead of using a numbering system for the cans of film, the notes of the chromatic musical scale are used. When 12 lives have been completed for each trip through the chromatic scale, the group of 12 rolls or cans of film are wrapped together and labeled with the musical tone of that particular set of lessons. The rolls of 12 are then turned sideways and stored with the previous musical tone. They are left standing upright in front of the bin for that soul. The male and female bins are side by side. When each have completed 12 lives for the same musical tone, they make a documentary of the positive and negative aspects of each life. The negative aspects or lessons that need to be learned are stored on one film to be worked on in the future. The positive lives are weighed or compared to the previous negative document, and those attitudes that were transmuted by either half of the spark are eliminated from the negative documentary. As you can see, it is a system of pluses and minuses of the combined lessons learned by either half. Whoever chooses to incarnate the next time chooses which items in the negative documentary film they want to transmute, and then they refer to the positive film to choose past strengths gained. You can see why you need to be in contact with your other half. The strengths you need to draw on may have been a strength gained by your other half instead of you. If you never reach contact with the other half, you most likely will not transmute the negative attitudes you chose to work on, so they can be eliminated from the negative documentary. This seed core of each, their individual seed core, is like a porous rock or stone, or perhaps a sponge. All the tiny cells of this sponge are filled with all this great and beautiful knowledge of former incarnations. It is compressed in each to as small an area as possible. This sponge needs to become as though soaked with water. It will swell and expand inside each, and the knowledge locked in these tiny black holes of cells will be released. The way to get it to expand is through meditation, imagination, and visualization. But first there must be the awareness that it is there inside of each, in the brain of which only 15 to 20% is being used now. These cells of the sponge must be enlarged for evolution to go forward. As God shattered himself into individual sparks and entered human bodies, so also does a human at some stage in evolution shatter himself. This is called a rebirth into continuity, the true meaning of being born again. It releases his former incarnations, and from that time on he will be able to be in communication with all his previous personalities, and also, as he continues opening unused levels of his mind, with future personalities that the seed core is planning. Each of these seed cores of energy provide access to all the previous personalities that had lived on the earth plane at one time. The way this happens is if the personality on the earth plane in a physical body opens up the higher levels of his mind, he causes a rebirth into continuity. The moon, though considered dead, still fills an area of time and space. So humans, when dead, are also still in time and space. You see, an entity's former incarnations are in time and space, and up until this shattering, are in a vacuum inside the mind of the human. The shattering allows them to take form and rise up and expand into the universe. This rebirth into continuity frees the previous personalities inside his mind. It frees all the knowledge and wisdom gained in these other lives, making this wisdom available for others to use. This also begins the growing and evolving process for these past incarnations. This is the true meaning of the term to be born again, for which the correct wording is a rebirth into continuity. If the life you lead has been so degrading and so unspiritual that you cannot pull it back up with help on the inner planes, then that particular personality truly dies. It will not linger on. No part of it will be incorporated into the seed core to have everlasting life. As an example, say you had lived a life as a murderer, we'll call Bob. If you never did anything good in that life, Bob would not live eternal life. Yet if Bob, before he died, repented and gave money to help a blind child or his mother, then Bob would become an eternal part of the soul and live on. All it takes is one plus deed to allow any lifetime to incorporate as an eternal part of the soul. The soul helps give birth to and form the personality for its use, but the personality is from physical evolution. This is why humans are so fantastic. Those on other dimensions who have not been through earth plane experiences do not have the qualities of laughter and a sense of humor and the compassion and the expression of joy until they have experienced the earth plane. This soul, starting at the age of 4, will be analyzing every action and reaction of not only himself, but also the parents and siblings. Now this is not a parent in the baby, but is being taken care of on the inner planes. Then if the soul is wise enough, this is an automatic process when the personality is being formed or painted on a canvas. The personality could be compared to a picture painted on a clean canvas of the leading character in a picture book story that will be followed for a lifetime. The problem is that the clean canvas is not as clean as we think. When the soul can actually start painting with color on this canvas, it must be remembered that there are spots of grease seeping through from the underneath side of the canvas that do not let the new pigment spread and flow evenly. This causes blotches to the painting. If the soul wielding the paintbrush has flaws in the manipulation of that brush that causes uneven brush strokes and jerky lines, then these, combined with the blotches, make a pretty messy painting. But if the soul is wise when it enters and realizes that there are spots of grease seeping through from underneath, then he will take pains to eliminate these spots of grease before trying to paint on top of them. In some cases, at intermediate levels of evolvement, the soul learns to cover them over on top of the canvas before proceeding. What he doesn't realize is that they will eventually work their way to the top layer of the paint and present a blotch after many years. A more evolved soul will know that they must be taken care of from underneath. When you go to sleep at night, there is a distinct pattern that the sleep follows, a structured pattern of sleep as far as the soul goes. The first thing it does is leave the body and go through a period of R&R, rest and recuperation, from the trials of the day that has just gone by. It meets and joins with the half of the soul on the inner planes for a brief period of rejuvenation. This may be thought of as a bonding. It re-energizes the spirit of the person, the soul of this person, as far as completeness goes. Because it is a separated soul during the working hours, it needs to have this bonding with the rest of its total beingness to rejuvenate and restore and prepare for the trials of another day on the earth plane. Once it has gone through this period, then as a whole soul it attends classes. If there is a particularly tough problem going on in the life of the body, he may ask for individual counseling and not attend a lecture or a classroom that night. Most likely there is a class, an ongoing class that he's working in each evening, a class similar to the courses in our universities. There are some classes that are prerequisite to others. It's very, very similar to our life here. Which classes it will attend will depend upon the evolutionary level of this soul. All people in the inner planes at night will have a period of classwork. It could be a big group in a lecture hall, or it could be on a one-to-one basis, just as though it were on the earth plane, but it's simply the soul. Then there are fun times on the inner planes. For example, a group of souls who are dedicated to, let's say, music in this particular lifetime will get together and just simply have a party. Or perhaps they are all artists. But like will attract like on the inner planes as far as these fun time periods, and also as far as the lessons go. The universal law of like attracts like holds totally in all aspects of the inner planes. It is not opposites attract. There is no sex difference, and of course no physical bodies. There is a bonding between the two halves of the souls. The 2 hours that the soul is out of the body would be equal perhaps to a 24-hour period of earth plane time. About 1 hour to 12 would be approximately accurate. As far as what happens to time, it would be like putting a film into fast speed. So much can be learned and gained and understood and known in that 2-hour period that it is very frustrating for souls when they re-enter the body and are slowed down to the very, very slow vibration of the earth plane. The whole body is what experiences the inner planes, not the half soul. Each evening there's a period when the two halves of the soul meet and join up or bond. Then they are with others, either in class or a fun time, at a lecture hall, strolling down the banks of a river, walking through gardens, in libraries searching out data. At the end of the night, there is a separation period again. All this can be squeezed into a 24-hour period. Classes, even individual counseling, a party, rest, relaxation, renewal, rejuvenation, all of this can take place within a 24-hour period and does each night in the 2-hour period of earth plane time. The soul will have much help at night on the inner planes. There are souls that when in contact at night with the twin that did not incarnate, receive so much love and support and understanding of what is going on in the family, and even understand that perhaps it was what the soul planned when he entered, that they wake up each morning as happy as can be. There are other souls that even though they get this support at night, are not strong enough when waking up in the body to remember it. The difference is quite often to be found in the genetic stock. The influence of the genetic stock is a big surprise to those on the inner planes as to how strong it is. Therefore, their desire to educate humanity as to what they are up against is very urgent, because the animal-based brain is becoming stronger with each generation that is born. The animal would have progressed to a certain level of intelligence without the incarnating soul ever entering the body. This is a natural process of evolution. If spiritual evolution does not keep pace and hopefully surpass that of physical evolution, there will be dire circumstances in the coming generations. This experiment of humans has had many surprises, and this is one of them, the fact that so much is passed through genetic heritage. those in the higher planes are still surprised at how much has passed through the genes. This is why they are constantly searching for the best way to upgrade the human race through the physical senses, besides through spiritual education. Spiritual education alone will never do the uplifting and erasing and reprogramming that needs to be done to further the evolutionary climbing that needs to take place. This accounts, in part, for so many physical disciplines that are coming into the earth plane at this time. Many people need to have much work done on the physical body before spiritual education can possibly have much effect. Even though the mind accepts the spiritual teachings, there is still that hard as concrete animal-based brain that for most everyone is still in control of the system as far as body functions go. Herein lies the biggest stumbling block those in the higher planes have encountered to present. The earth plane is a very important stage of development for the sparks of the Creator's mind. He is totally fascinated with the experiences and ingenuity they bring back to him. Physical evolution has a definite impression on spiritual evolution, and vice versa. One is teaching the other, and out of this combination, the Creator is growing and evolving and learning. He will then carry all this gained wisdom with him on his evolutionary journey into the next solar system.